let's dive right into this explainer where we're going to uncover one of the absolute most thrilling and literally fiery stories of courage ever recorded. We're looking at a piece of source material called In the Midst of the Fire. It breaks down the legendary account of 3 Hebrew children who faced an unimaginably terrifying situation. But it's way more than just some ancient history lesson. This narrative is going to show us exactly what it means to have faith when the heat is quite literally turned all the way up.
So think about it for a second. Have you ever had to do the right thing when it was genuinely scary? Like maybe standing up to a bully or facing intense peer pressure at work or school. It's not easy, right? Well, today we're looking at 3 young men who faced the ultimate scary choice. Their lives were entirely on the line. They weren't just risking their reputations, they were risking their very existence. Section 1, a very hard choice. Our source material draws a really sharp contrast here. It points out that true courage, true confession of faith isn't just speaking up when it's super easy. Confessing Christ means something significantly more than just sharing a testimony in a comfortable, safe prayer meeting. It means making a hard stand for him under completely different and incredibly difficult circumstances. I mean, it's easy to say what you believe when everyone around you is nodding in agreement, but what happens when those same people hold the power of life and death over you? And that brings us directly to a foundational text from Matthew chapter 10, verse 32. It says, "Whosoever therefore shall confess me before men, him will I confess also before my Father which is in heaven." The crucial takeaway here, when we bravely stand up for Jesus here on earth, especially in those really tough circumstances we just talked about, he promises to proudly claim us in heaven before the Father. It's just a beautiful, powerful, reciprocal promise. Section 2, the golden image. So, King Nebuchadnezzar, the ruler of ancient Babylon, sets up this massive golden image, and he issues a terrifying step-by-step ultimatum that directly challenges the faith of these 3 Hebrews. Step 1, fall down. Step 2, worship the image. Step 3, if you refuse, you will be cast alive into the fiery furnace. Talk about intense, right? There was absolutely no middle ground here, no room for negotiation. It was literally bow down or burn. This brilliantly illustrates their epic bravery. Their response in Daniel chapter 3 is honestly one of the most powerful statements of faith in the historical record. They confidently tell the king that their God is entirely able to deliver them from the burning fiery furnace. But look at the incredible psychological weight of that second part. But if not. Even knowing God could save them, they made the staggering choice that they would rather face the fire than bow to an idol, even if he didn't save them. It really cost them something to confess their faith, because again, their very lives were on the line. Section 3, into the fire. The king is furious, absolutely livid. So he commands that the furnace be heated 7 times hotter than normal. Now, ancient brick kilns were already scorching, reaching thousands of degrees to bake clay and smelt metals. But turning the heat up to maximum capacity, that meant he wanted an absolute spectacle of their defiance. The heat was so intense, it was meant to be an execution of total, instantaneous annihilation. Just try to picture the overwhelming heat and tension in that moment. These 3 faithful friends were thrown directly into the raging flames, completely bound hand and foot. Utterly helpless physically, they were cast in alive. They didn't fight back. They didn't suddenly recant their faith at the last second. They went straight into the fire because they completely refused to compromise their conviction. Section 4, the 4th man. Now the king fully expected to look into that furnace and see exactly what he had ordered. 3 men, tied up, being instantly consumed by the intense fire. But instead, he jumps up in absolute astonishment. He frantically asks his counselors, "Wait, did not we cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire?" They agree, of course. But the king says, "Lo, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt." Instead of tied-up men burning to a crisp, he saw 4 men casually walking around in the flames, completely unharmed. No way, right? And here is the absolute most magnificent revelation of this entire story. The king himself, a pagan ruler, mind you, looks into the flames and recognizes something undeniably divine. He declares right there in verse 25 that this glorious 4th person standing in the fire with them was none other than the Son of God. Christ himself had stepped directly into that fiery furnace to be with his faithful followers when they needed him the absolute most. And the outcome? It's just as mind-blowing. First, Nebuchadnezzar calls the servants of God to come out of the fire. Second, they emerge with absolutely no hurt on their bodies. The fire had literally 0 power over them. And third, Our source material emphasizes something wild. They didn't even have the smell of fire upon them. This wasn't just some partial rescue where they barely escaped with singed hair. It was a total, absolute miracle where they walked out without a single scorch mark or even the lingering scent of smoke on their clothes.
Section 5, Jesus in your fire. The most beautiful takeaway from this explainer is this. If you are called to go through the fiery furnace for Christ's sake, Jesus will be right there at your side. No matter how scary your situation gets, no matter how much the heat is turned up by circumstances at work or in your personal life or in your stand for what is right, you never, ever have to face the flames alone. The fourth man is still stepping into the fire today. This promise is anchored beautifully in the book of Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 2. God promises right here that his protective presence is an absolute guarantee. It says, "When thou passest through the waters, I will be with thee. When thou walkest through the fire, thou shalt not be burned, neither shall the flame kindle upon thee." Notice, he doesn't promise that we'll never face the fire, but he does promise that when we do, his presence will keep those metaphorical fires of life from destroying us. So, think about the challenges you're staring down right now. In what scary situation will you invite Jesus to step into the fire with you today? Remember, true confession of faith often happens when the heat is on, but when you stand for him, he stands right beside you. Thanks for joining us for this explainer, and I really hope this gives you the courage to face whatever furnace is in front of you this week.